Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about tabletop role-playing games, system mastery versus narrative, or actually narrative versus system mastery, and specifically the status of Dungeons & Dragons and the status of index card RPG, and the ramifications of looking at that clearly. All right, so let's talk, and the reality is, I think one of the biggest points of this message is me accepting a hard truth, right? Okay, so let's talk about it. All right. My favorite tabletop role-playing game in the world right now is index card RPG. Let me say this. It is Dungeons & Dragons, okay, as a meta game in that I am more thankful to Dungeons & Dragons that, to me, no tabletop role-playing game can ever surpass Dungeons & Dragons because it is the father of all tabletop and the mother of all tabletop role-playing games, okay? It is the source, right? And nothing can surpass it because of that, right? Because none of these other tabletop role-playing games exist without it. So Dungeons & Dragons is my favorite tabletop role-playing game. But when it comes to what I am bringing to my table now, my table is index card RPG all the way, okay? And here's why. I realized this a little while ago. Dungeons & Dragons is narrative. All tabletop role-playing games have a balance between system mastery and narrative. Narrative is, let's tell this story. Let's tell this story as the creator of the game, as the dungeon master, game master, and the players, right? Let's tell a story together, right? The game designer, the person who designed the tabletop role-playing game you're playing, they're telling a narrative. Their game contains a narrative. You as the game master are bringing narrative, and the players are bringing narrative, right? And so that's really important. It's a key element of any tabletop role-playing game, okay? And then there's system mastery. System mastery is mastery of the rules system, and that allowing you to gain more benefits in the game because you know system mastery. I'll give you one of the best examples of system mastery. In Dungeons & Dragons, what level spells does a 5th level wizard cast? Well, they cast 3rd level spells, right? And below. A 5th level wizard can't cast 5th level spells. That is, if you know that, you have system mastery, right? If you know that without looking at the rules, without looking at the rule book, that will give you a distinct benefit in the game. Whether you're fighting a wizard, whether you're running a wizard, whether you're a game master, right? Knowing that without looking at the book, that system mastery gives you a benefit in the game, right? Now, I have realized that at this point in my career, I want 80% narrative, 20% system mastery. And that's exactly what Index Card RPG is. Whereas Dungeons & Dragons, even in 5th edition, is 80% system mastery, 20% narrative, right? Dungeons & Dragons, it significantly suppresses the ability to have a narrative because it elevates system mastery. And what Index Card RPG has done is it has made the rules so simple that anyone can have system mastery. Any player can have system mastery quite easily, right? And then that allows the narrative to be elevated, right? All right, so now that we understand that, right? These two, Index Card RPG and Dungeons & Dragons, are inverted, right? Between system mastery and narrative. Now, here's where this gets interesting. I have for a long time, literally years, been saying that if we can build a game where narrative is elevated and system mastery is suppressed, right? Then people who previously did not play tabletop role-playing games will begin to play tabletop role-playing games, and our ranks will swell because, air quotes, normal people, right? Not normal people, but muggles. People normal people is definitely a wrong word. Muggles, right? People who don't play tabletop role-playing games will come and play tabletop role-playing games. All you would need is an interest in story, not an interest in tabletop role-playing games, right? Here's the hard truth that I am learning. I think Index Card RPG proves this wrong, right? I don't think you could build a better game for elevating narrative and suppressing system mastery than Index Card RPG. It's darn near perfect, right? It has beautiful art. Its rule systems is absolutely maximally perfect. I just don't think you could do it better, right? For what I've wanted, the type of game that I've wanted, I don't think I could write. I would be very hard pressed to write a game that's better than an index card RPG as far as elevating narrative, suppressing system mastery, right? It's perfect. And yet, here's the kicker. People are not flocking to it. The muggles that I expected to swell the ranks of TRPG are not coming, right? Now, I don't think this is from a lack of execution from Runehammer Games, who creates Index Card RPG. I think I was wrong, right? Like, here's the issue. People don't play tabletop role-playing games. They're not playing tabletop role-playing games because narrative is suppressed and system mastery is high. They're not playing tabletop role-playing games because they don't want to play tabletop role-playing games. And it doesn't matter what the level of narrative and system mastery mix is. We now have the amount of people who are going to play tabletop role-playing games. We have them, period, right? And the reality is, going forward, system mastery over narrative is going to win. Those people are the people who want to that want system mastery to make them better at the game, and suppress narrative to have system mastery as preeminent. That's what they want, and they're going to continue to win the numbers game in tabletop role-playing games. That's a fact, right? I think I have now come to the realization, I think Index Card RPG proves this truth, right? I don't want to believe this truth, right? I really don't. This is a harsh truth for me, right? I truly believed that if you built a game, a fantastic game, that was simple and cheap, that had great art and great writing, that rules were darn near perfect, right? That people would, that muggles, people who don't normally traditionally play tabletop role-playing games, would flock to tabletop role-playing games, and a new dawn where narrative was preeminent over system mastery would unfold. I was wrong. Index Card RPG proves this, right? Because people have not flocked to that game. Now, I want to be clear. Runehammer Games is making good progress. That game is selling well, right? But it's not even coming close to outselling Dungeons & Dragons, which is system mastery heavy, narrative suppressive, right? And that's the issue, right? Now, why am I taking the time to say this? Well, one, we have to be like this. If there's a truth that is proven with facts, we have to believe it even if we don't like it. And the reality is, once we accept that, we stop doing things that are not useful, right? So one of the things that this helps me understand, right, is think about it like in hotels, right? Dungeons & Dragons is the Marriott, okay? They have thousands of hotels all over the, all over the country, maybe hundreds, maybe like 1,000 hotels all over the country. And people check in, people go out, and they got that thing on lock, right? Marriott Hotels is Dungeons & Dragons, okay? I kept wanting Index Card RPG or games like Index Card RPGs to replace the Marriott, right? And now be the Hyatt, right? And I kept thinking that narrative over system mastery could be a national scale hotel, right? And so what I was doing is I was buying like the material to build a pool, right? And because, if you're going to have a national chain hotel, I was thinking when it came to game design, when it came to marketing, when it came to all these kind of things, my thought process was, buy the cement, and get the construction, get the backhoe out, because we're going to build an in-ground pool, because this is going to be a super nice Marriott national level hotel type, right? That has a pool, right? But the reality is, here's the thing. Here's what I now realize. Narrative over system mastery is not a national level hotel chain, right? It is a bed and breakfast, right? You go there, it's small, it's tiny, it's niche. The number of people who are going to check in and check out are the tiniest fraction of the Marriott, right? But the reality is, there could be some pretty amazing experiences at the bed and breakfast, right? You can get sausage and egg in the morning and a nice toast and some fresh coffee that's delivered to you by the people who actually own the hotel. And that realizing that the bed and breakfast has value and that you need to stop buying the pool equipment because the bed and breakfast doesn't need a pool, right? It's a bed and breakfast. It should be valued for what it is. That is where I think I'm trying to land now. right? I think Runehammer Games has knocked it out of the park. They've created the best rule system I have ever seen built in my entire lifetime, not counting Dungeons and Dragons. I will never say that any TRPG is better than D&D, and the reason why is it's the source. I can't neglect it, right? But beyond the source, right? Nothing I've ever seen is better than Index Card RPG. It's darn near flawless in my opinion, right? And the reality is people did not flock to it, right? They're not flocking in droves, right? And the reality is, rather than me being frustrated that Index Card RPG can't be made the Hyatt that directly competes with the Marriott, but realizing this is a bed and breakfast. Let's put the porch swing out, right? Let's enjoy the coffee and bagels in the morning, and let's sit on the porch and enjoy what we have, rather than trying to make it into something that we thought it could be, and buying the pool supplies when a bed and breakfast doesn't need a pool, right? An in-ground pool. I think it's a better way to go. And the other thing is, I have to be humble, right? I Scott Garibay, am saying I never hesitate to say people should do this, people should do that, people should do this, right? And the reality is, when I've been faced with cold hard facts that show what I believed was wrong, it's really important. It is really, really important that we accept the hard truths. And I'm trying to do that. I think the reality is, I'm now realizing I don't think system mastery can be beat. People want to play tabletop role-playing games that are system mastery preeminent and narrative suppressive, right? And by the way, don't bring me that 50-50 nonsense like that if you hit the right balance, that will bring more people, right? The reality is D&D is growing, right? So the system mastery preeminent, narrative suppressive is the model that's growing. That's a fact, right? And I don't like that fact. I wish it was that narrative preeminent and system mastery suppressive was the better model. But Index Card RPG has proven it's not the better model for growing the hobby. It just simply isn't, right? And I think it's really important that it's critical. We as human beings, if we ignore evidence that's put in front of us, that leads to tears and flames, right? It doesn't end well. And so I want to listen to my own advice, and I think this is a new understanding for me, right? And I love Index Card RPG, and I intend to enjoy it more now than ever, right? And I'm going to invite more and more people to that bed and breakfast, to have, to stay for the weekend, not go for a whole week, and say this is the thing, and it's cool and it's awesome, and we value it for what it is, right? And of course, I'm buying 6th edition. I love Dungeons and Dragons. My love for it, even though I wish Dungeons and Dragons would become a narrative preeminent, system mastery suppressive system, I know for a fact it never will. It will never go there, right? And that's okay. I think it's that's the point of this entire video, is when you see the evidence and you see the hard facts, you darn well better get in line and reshape your life based on reality, not based on what you want to be true, And so just trying to follow a little bit of my own advice. Appreciate your patience hearing me out on this one. All of that is my opinion. Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on how to get the balance right between narrative and system mastery, and specifically, do you think there will ever be a day where narrative preeminent, system mastery suppressive systems defeat system mastery preeminent, narrative suppressive systems? I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.